Well, everyone, thank you so much. And now it's time to start the GLASS 101 session. The Georgia Libraries for Accessible Statewide Services GLASS Outreach Team travels the state of Georgia raising awareness about GLASS and fostering partnerships with agencies that serve similar populations. Gina Martin, Outreach Manager, and Outreach Librarians Asha Hagood and Teneka Williams engage with various service agencies who serve the visually impaired and sighted alike to raise awareness of GLASS resources and services. There you go, GLASS 101.
All right. And just before I launch into it, just while it's fresh, I wanted to add to Stacy Peace's neat checklist about making sure that your library's website was accessible. One more item you can add to that is putting the GLASS button on you, making sure you have the GLASS button on your web page. And I won't go too far into those weeds. I think Gina might be talking about that, but it's pretty much just a widget that will connect to the GLASS website. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit today. I'm Asha Hagood, Outreach Librarian with GLASS. And we're going to talk a little bit today about GLASS's mission, history, program offerings, and program eligibility. I'm joined by Teneka Williams, also an Outreach Librarian, and Gina Martin, Outreach Manager. We're your GLASS Outreach team, and we're available to you in various ways to ensure that you're prepared and able to promote GLASS to your patrons who might qualify for our service. GLASS is a subsidiary of the Georgia Public Library Service, GPLS, and GPLS's mission is to essentially increase the capacity of libraries through these means, providing scalable library technology and services, providing staff consulting, best practices, grant administration, to ensure equity in the library experience for all patrons. And GLASS is folded into that mission, GPLS's mission, and we exist to essentially increase and enhance the capacity of Georgia's libraries to serve those who have accessibility needs. We are essentially a special library, and we provide reading materials in accessible formats for folks who qualify for the service. The national program was established by an act of Congress in 1931. GLASS is a part of a national network of libraries. So every state has its answer to a talking book library. GLASS is Georgia's. It's administered by the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, and partially funded by the Library Services and Technology Act through the Institute of Museum and Library Services. So it's again, a part of a network of talking book libraries across the country. And in Georgia, we're currently serving upwards of 9,000 active patrons and institutions. Pictured on the screen is one of the earlier versions of the talking book player. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we do it, serving all 400 plus public libraries in all 159 counties. Some of you may remember the sub-regional libraries, Swiglas and Augusta and Athens outreach centers. We are currently one entity with a walk-in library in downtown Atlanta, not currently open. The new location is not currently open. Neither is the location that we're in right now, of course, due to the pandemic. But we're one entity, and there pre-pandemic, we offered computer services, assistive technology for patron use, programs, and even some Braille material. Our distribution center was also pared down with the introduction of distribution on demand. And that's a process that allows GLASS staff to load cartridges with several books as opposed to just one book per cartridge, which was our former model. Pictured on screen now is the kind of a map of the state of Georgia and the various counties. So we really want you to come away with a good understanding of what GLASS is and how it functions. So we'll just do a little quiz or multiple choice, not really a quiz. I'll read each item, and I just want you to think about which of these items is true of a day in the life of GLASS staff. And we'll start with A, of course. Chat with patrons about what they've been up to and provide emotional support. Does GLASS staff B, consult with a librarian about the best course of action to ensure accessibility when acquiring electronic resources? Does GLASS staff C, drive to a patron's home to personally deliver material? And I did note that if we did, that would be an exception and not the rule. Or D, all of the above. If you answered D, and I'm sure that all of you brilliant librarians did, you are correct. GLASS does all of these things just the way public librarians stretch to meet the needs, the information needs of their patronage. So does GLASS staff. And I should note that, you know, we're always thrilled to get to field questions from you guys about accessibility accommodations, be it for your websites, databases that you might acquire, programming accessibility, because it shows that, you know, you are thinking about the needs of those patrons. So you'll find this job aid infographic on the resources for librarians link on our website, georgialibraries.org/GLASS. And there's a link called GLASS Flyers in that tab. And it's just kind of a roundup of different resources that can help librarians support them as they talk about accessibility with their patrons. We know many of our, this job aid or flyer is devoted to promoting a BARD first approach. And we know many of our patrons enjoy reading with talking book players and cartridges. And right now that is still available to them. We don't want to cause a panic because, you know, we've talked to some patrons and they do kind of panic that the cartridges and talking book players may be taken from them. But we do want librarians to kind of approach talking about GLASS with a BARD first approach. And BARD is the Braille and audio reading download. It's an app that allows patrons to read NLS titles on their own devices, be they Android or iOS. And so this job aid just kind of walks you through how you might segue into introducing BARD Mobile and how you might sell a patron on using it. I talked a little bit about BARD Mobile, so we'll talk about some of the other ways to read with our program. In addition to the talking book players and the magazine cartridges, which are lent once someone is signed up for the service, they also have access to the BARD Mobile app, so they can acquire book downloads to their personal devices. Some other accessible formats that we circulate are Braille books through a partnership with Utah and through a partnership with Pines, Public Info Network for Electronic Services. And that's essentially a borderless library. I'm pretty sure all of you are familiar with Pines. We offer access to audio described DVDs and large print. And those are both, you know, considered accessible formats. We also offer access to Bookshare while students are in the K-12 environment. Once they transition, while they're in the K-12 environment, the state of Georgia foots the bill for them to have access to Bookshare. But once they transition out, they could potentially lose that access and be subject to Bookshare's subscription fee. But if they're a GLASS patron, GLASS foots the bill for our patrons to continue to enjoy this resource. And with Bookshare, patrons can read with text, while GLASS and NLS materials are not text-based. So with Bookshare, they can read with text, which can be customized for accessibility. And they also get titles a little quicker than NLS does. But it's worth mentioning that NLS books, GLASS titles, are human voice narrated and not digital voice narrated like Bookshares. And that's a strong preference for a lot of readers, the human voice narration. So pictured on screen is just one of the talking book cartridges, the Bookshare logo, talking book player, and some of the Braille material that we circulate, children's book with Braille overlays, and also the Pines logo. So just to double back to BARD Mobile, it's one of the ways patrons can read, and it's definitely one of the most expedient ways to read because there's no post office involved. We also offer BARD Express, which is essentially a wizard that facilitates faster downloads of the books to the patron's computer. So we won't deep dive into those because they really are talks unto themselves, and we do a weekly outreach call on Wednesday where we do kind of take deeper dives into these aspects of the program. And the joining information for to join those calls is on the website under the events tab. We also circulate AT kits, and they have low to mid tech assistive technology inside of them, and libraries can kind of demo the contents of those kits to people who it might be helpful for. And the idea is that they can kind of try it before they buy it to see if it really is a viable option for them or for your library. Just want to make sure that that's all I wanted to hit on. I'm sorry. And you can access or request one of those kits through the website, the GLASS website, also on that resources for librarians page. So we've talked about ways to read. I'm going to kick it over to Teneka, and she can discuss who can read with GLASS. So she'll discuss the eligibility aspect.
Okay, hi everyone. Good morning. Okay, so thank you, Asha. GLASS is a talking book library that provides services for people with temporary or permanent low vision, blindness, or physical disability that prevents them from reading or holding a printed page. NLS, the National Library Service, offers books the way you want them. You can get them in Braille or audio formats. They're mailed to your door for free, or they're instantly downloadable. NLS works to ensure that all may read. That's their slogan. And they provide eligible patrons access to all their materials, regardless of age, economic circumstance, or technical expertise. Any resident of the United States or American citizen living abroad who is unable to read or use regular print materials as a result of a temporary or permanent visual or physical limitation may receive service through NLS. This includes individuals who've had a qualifying disability from birth, individuals who are disabled because of a medical condition or trauma, and individuals who become disabled as they age. Individuals who have a temporary disability may qualify for service on a temporary basis. Right, so there's, right now we currently have upwards of 9,000 users, and individuals are eligible if a certifying authority determines their reading disability. Let's go to the next slide and we'll get into that. Let's go to the next slide. Sorry. Okay. So the application for the program can be found online at our website, www.georgialibraries.org/GLASS. It's not a PDF fillable, so you have to print it out, but you can scan it, you can email it, or you can fax it. Once we register the patron, they'll get a welcome packet, and this is going to familiarize them with the finer points of the program. Our goal is to always send new patrons the equipment and the introductory packet within 5 welcome days. We currently do have COVID protocols in place, meaning you don't have to have a wet signature. You can, the certifying authority that is verifying or validating your disability can send an email. You don't have to have a wet signature on an application. And it's very important that we talk about the certifying authority. It can't be a parent, but it could be someone like a social worker, a doctor, occupational therapist, a librarian, someone who's able to physically see the patron and can kind of verify that they have the impairments that are needed to qualify for this service. I think we're going to try to pop out to the website and just show you a few things on the website. Here, this is good. Okay, so here's the GLASS website. As you see, we have some COVID protocols in place and they're highlighted in red. But if you look to the side and you see the menu on the side that says GLASS links, you can see GLASS RSVP. And that's a great link to find out about other programs and other services that are available with those that have impairments. There's also Find a Library. We'll get you to the closest library to you that can help you. This program is available in every public library in Georgia. Also, there's a link to the newsletter. We're going to talk about the newsletter a little further on in the slides. And I think the most significant link on this page is the resources for librarians, because we're hoping that we have a lot of librarians on this call. This link will be very helpful to you. It links you to a checklist, our YouTube page, and our Facebook page. So you can get all the up-to-date information that we have, and also links about programming that we have, which we're going to get to further onto the slides. On this same page, Asha mentioned to you the kits. There's information about the kits on this page. There's information about the ADA compliance on this page. There's the GLASS L mailing list, and there's previous presentations and webinars that we've had at our previous conferences when we were able to meet in public. All right, next slide.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. You're great.
Get back to
Thank you so
presentation
much.
mode.
Okay, thank you so much for DJing. Okay, so this is going to tell you about our programs. We're not a traditional library, that's true, but we have so many programs that make us pretty comparable. Right now we have the peer support, and it's open to individuals who are newly blind, individuals who need help coping with their visual impairment or blindness, and family members of those affected by vision loss anywhere in Georgia. The focus of this group is sharing information, resources, and emotional support to empower greater independence and quality of life. Support group calls sometimes feature guests, and I think the call they had earlier this month had Elizabeth Isaacs of Isaacs Cane Repair. We have some book clubs. There's the For Grown Folks Only, which is just named for what it's named for. And there's the Men Only, and these are both available by participants calling in on the phone. So they can do it from the comfort of their own home, just like we do everything else in this program. More like a traditional library, we do have summer reading. Pre-COVID, we had talent shows, ice cream shows, socials, and we even had prom. But we've adapted to this virtual environment very well. Vanessa Meadows hosted a spoken word event on March 9th. The events tab on our website lists all the events. Asha mentioned our outreach call. That's on there. The events that they're going to have at AmLast that they're going to do virtually, those are listed there. So you should definitely check that tab out. It'd probably be a good place to start for programming ideas out there in public library world. All right. Okay, so talking book topics. Talking About Topics lists the audiobooks and magazines that are recently added to the NLS collection and that are available through the library. It also carries news of developments and services to people who are blind, visually impaired, or cannot read regular print material. They're published bi-monthly. They're published in digital audio, large print, and accessible PDF formats, and they're also downloadable through Bard. So just think of it as a catalog of what's new, what's to come. It's just a listing of all the books that are newly recorded and available on Bard and through your library. All right, next slide. All right, so Hourglass, that's our quarterly newsletter, and it's produced by Georgia Libraries for Accessible Statewide Services. That's us, we produce it. It can be accessed on Newsline, print, or accessible formats. The purpose of the newsletter is to convey current news to our users and partners. We promote existing, updated, or upcoming GLASS services, and we create awareness of resources which could be of use of our patrons. So it's basically a newsletter, your average newsletter. My favorite feature of the newsletter, though, is the book reviews. Our reader advisors participate in the book reviews, and sometimes they allow the patrons to create them, and I think they're really great. I think the book reviews are the best. All right, next slide. So just a quick review of what GLASS has to offer, because you're getting a lot of information really fast. GLASS offers the option to browse, select, and receive books from your home, choosing to have your books chosen for you, or auto selection based on your preferences you select on the application for service. Patrons have the option to download their books, or the staff at the library can do that and mail you your books. There are no waiting lists for Bard materials. There's no checkout period. Nothing's ever late at our library. Real quick to note that Bard books play on mobile devices and our Talking Books machines, but they don't play on a computer. However, Bookshare books will play from your computer. So as Asha mentioned, we have an outreach call on Wednesdays, and these are some of the things that we do a deep dive into. And so please feel free to join any of those calls weekly. We really learn a lot because we have our patrons on the call with us, and we also have a reader advisor sometimes on the call with us. So they're very explorative. I hope that's a word. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Gina. Gina's going to pick up for our knowledge check.
All right, we're going to stop here and we're going to do a review real quick of what we just learned from Asha and Teneka. Who is eligible? Individuals who are blind and whose physical abilities require the use of books and magazines in audio format or Braille, anyone with a disability who is unable to read standard print. This includes temporary disabilities and permanent. Where is the GLASS Library? It is located in Atlanta. Due to COVID-19, the library is not open to the public. Staff can be reached by phone at 800-424-8567 for in-person assistance from a reader advisor. I want to do a better job promoting GLASS. Where would be a great place to start? You would contact the GLASS outreach team, that's Asha, Teneka, or I, to plan a staff training, library visit, or to discuss a marketing plan to support your library's promotion of GLASS. Can the parent of an individual wanting to register sign the application as the certifying authority? No, parents cannot, but librarians are a certifying authority. And we just reviewed the online application that Teneka explained so well, and it can be accepted via email. You print it out, have it signed, and a librarian or a certifying authority can send an email to the GLASS staff for approval. Due to COVID, we have put this in place, and so far, this is going to be a permanent addition to our application process for processing applications for GLASS. Does the Bard mobile app display text? No, it does not. Bard mobile app does not display text. It allows users to download and listen to talking books and to read Braille books using a Bluetooth connected Braille display. What is the website or URL for GLASS's website? georgialibraries.org/GLASS. Next slide. All right, connecting with outreach. How do you connect with outreach? You join the Glass-L listserv. You will receive weekly program announcements, eligibility updates, and interesting news stories sent directly to your email. You sign up at the Glass website. Request a Glass outreach librarian to your next staff meeting or training day. Hosting a community event. Invite Glass to host a table or booth. And once again, check out the resources for librarians that Teneka just showed us on the website. There are resources including flyers, promotional materials. You can access our training on YouTube, and there's instructions for how to promote Glass within your library. And we are developing new tools for public libraries to be announced in the near future. Next slide. Glass reminders. We have an interesting update that we'd like to share. The National Library Service has implemented a long-awaited change to make it easier for people with reading disabilities to enroll for our services. Now, reading specialists, educators, librarians, and school psychologists will be able to certify the eligibility of applicants with reading disabilities. This is important because it removes a barrier for people with learning disabilities to easily apply for Glass without having to get a doctor's approval. We also have brief video trainings available on the Niche Academy located on the GPLS Learning Center. It's entitled Glass for Librarians and Staff, and they offer CEs. And then there's a link to the Glass website. You can add a link or widget to the Glass website on your library's webpage. This will allow easy access to Glass resources through your library's website, and it would encourage people to get information and apply for the Glass program. Also, it will be a handy tool for your library staff to be able to connect to Glass information in order to educate their patrons. Next slide. All right, we want you to connect with us. You've met Asha, Teneka, and myself, Gina Martin. Please reach out to us by sending us an email to the Glass Outreach email listed on the website, glassoutreach@georgialibraries.org, or give us a call at 1-800-248-6701. Next slide. We would be ready to take any questions that you may have at this time.
Okay, this is Pat. We took a couple of questions in the question box, and let me start with one of them. It said, I wonder how the pandemic has impacted your services. How is Glass coping with the new normal? Have services been impacted, and what are you doing to overcome those challenges? And I'll be glad to give my perspective, but Gina, go ahead if you'd like.
Well, the Glass Outreach team share with you that we have been providing programs virtually to help connect with our patrons. We are also hosting an outreach call every week. Asha and Teneka do a wonderful job reviewing the services provided through Glass and the products. They give tutorials, which are available for new patrons signing on, as well as existing patrons who just need a refresher. It's also an opportunity for us to connect with patrons who have other questions or concerns. It gives them a chance to request topics that we can review during that hour-long outreach call that is every Wednesday, and the schedule is provided on our website, and we have a calendar, and we also post on our Facebook page.
And I will jump in to say we're still circulating materials as usual. And we do hope to reopen at the Central Branch when we move from our temporary locations back into our newly renovated space at the newly renovated Central Branch of Fulton County Public Library. Right now, their building is not open to the public, not only because COVID, they're still getting it pulled together post-renovation. But we will be taking our cue from them. When they open to the public, that's when we'll also check with the Georgia Board of Regents, our parent agency, and see what the feelings are about us returning to the branch. We have been a little hesitant to open up because we do consider our service very high touch. We work very closely with our patrons as they use computers and assistive technology. And that's been part of our hesitancy to be open until we feel like COVID is under control. But again, we're looking forward to being in new space and hopefully having our doors open to the public. Got another question. Can academic librarians and staff reach out to GLASS or reference any of your resources? Sometimes it's rough understanding what we can do to help make our resources more accessible.
They're asking, can they reach out to GLASS? Yeah, they can reach out to GLASS. One of the ways that we function is in a consultant capacity. So they can always reach out to GLASS and we can hash out, you know, the best way to fill the information need, the best way to make sure that the accessibility need is addressed as well.
Okay, another question, and this is a good one. Could library staff use BARD mobile app to see how it works and be able to share that experience with our GLASS eligible patrons?
If they are not a registered GLASS user, then no, they wouldn't have access to the BARD mobile app. Even with the demonstration, the demo account, because we didn't touch on getting an account, an institutional account, but that application is also listed on the website under just an individual application. So GLASS staff, library staff can apply for an institutional account if you haven't already, or community agencies, they can apply for an institution account to kind of demonstrate the service to those who might be a good fit for it. But the BARD mobile app is not included with that. But there's a suite, yeah, there's all kinds of videos on YouTube that kind of demonstrate how BARD mobile is used, how-tos, educational videos. You were saying, Pat, I'm sorry.
That you're right. I agree with Asha 100%. And the reason is copyright compliance. The law that allows us to provide this materials does require that access to our content is limited to people who are eligible for the service. That's why we have to certify people as eligible, and that's why we have to restrict who has access to the resources. And one more question came in. Do you think libraries should have a specific area of their library outfitted to meet the needs of patrons with certain challenges? I'm going to jump in and give my opinion. I am more about universal access and enabling as much to be accessible at any place in your library than for partitioning off a particular space. There's pros and cons to either approach. And after 3 days of this conference, you might come to your own conclusions. And anybody else from GLASS, jump in.
I agree, Pat. I would think if you ask someone who is disabled, they would want to not be segregated to one particular area. They would want to have access to the entire library.
Any more questions?
Well, I think that will wrap up our presentation for GLASS 101 if there aren't any more questions.
And I want to thank everybody on the GLASS outreach team for their presentation. It's now time for you to go break for lunch. I'm glad we caught up. Sorry, I started 15 minutes late. Thanks to all of you, and join us again at 1 o'clock for the next session on mental health initiatives in public libraries, the California experience. Thank you so much, and thank you for your patience. Good afternoon. Good morning. See you in the afternoon.